So the children ran from their places to go towards the building. They stood in the doorway of the underground for a moment until it was raining hard. Then they closed the door and heard the gigantic sound of the rain falling in tons and avalanches everywhere and forever. So while coming back to their buildings, they stopped at the doorway just to see how suddenly everything had transformed. They did not wait at this doorway before the sun came, because they were excited and desperate to enjoy it. But once that moment of happiness is gone, you always feel that loss. So the feeling of loss came back to them as they stood at the doorway, bidding goodbye painfully to that warmth of the sun. And then slowly they shut the door. And what returned with the shutting of door? The gigantic. Gigantic means huge. Here it means the tremendous noise of the sun falling in tons. Can you measure rain falling in tons? You can't, right? But millimeters appears to be a very small measure for the amount of rain that all the time comes on Venus. Therefore, the author goes on to mix up the entire unit of measurement and trying to say tons, which is a very huge quantity of weight. This is exaggeration figure of speech. And avalanches. Avalanche, as I've explained earlier, is nothing but the heavy fall of snow from the hillside, especially when it comes down like a hurricane. So the rain that felt nothing different than avalanche everywhere. The author is trying to remind us that this rain is not just temporary or only in a certain part of Venus. It is everywhere and forever, and it felt like it will continue till the infinite time. Will it be 7 more years? Said one of the children. Yes, 7. Then one of them gave a little cry. Margot! And the other one exclaimed, What? She's still in the closet where we locked her. Margot! They stood as if someone had driven them like so many stakes into the floor. They looked at each other and then looked away. They glanced out at the world that was raining now and raining steadily. Suddenly, as this time of temporary happiness is gone, they are driven back to reality. And when they come back, they are reminded of their unfailing factor present in the classroom and with them all the time, even if they have hated her. So one of them is suddenly reminded and then cries out, Margot! And then they are reminded that she's still in that closet, that chamber where they thrust her and locked her. And now the reaction on their faces was as if, somebody had dragged them. So many stakes. Stakes is nothing but layers. If somebody thumps you down to the ground floor from the 55th floor or any XYZ number of the floor, what happens to you? Numbness comes. You don't realize what to do. You can't figure out where you are. Blankness. That's what the children felt. They looked at each other and then looked away. This is a very important line. They looked at each other, trying to find out what everybody is feeling, and then looked away. No more, after looking at each other, did they have courage to accept what they had done, what they had themselves done. What had they done? In the hatred, they had harmed somebody, and they had made someone feel miserable beyond a limit. This was gross. very wicked of a human quality, which they acknowledge they did and therefore were ashamed. Underline the word looked away. It means to feel ashamed. They glanced out at the world that was raining now and raining steadily, and when they looked out, that, oh my God, we put this girl into a miserable state and we enjoyed something, and now that something is gone. And as their eyes fall outside, what is there is back again the rain, which has been falling for ages. They could not meet each other's glances. If there is a question in the workbook or in the exam paper, what are the indications that suggest that children are regretful of their deed? You should be able to mark a few. Then looked away is the first one. Other one is they could not meet each other's glances. Third is, next line, their faces were solemn and pale. They looked at their hands and feet, their faces down. 4 indications right away, line after line, indicating that the children are feeling regretful, grieved, disappointed with their own conduct, with what they did to another innocent girl just because they did not approve of her, just because she was different. They could not meet each other's glances. The shame that they had did not allow them to look into the other person's eyes. You know, when somebody is lying, you could figure out from how they look into your eyes. However, some people are experts at white lying, but this is generally, you know. So their faces were solemn and pale. The glow, the happiness that was on their faces right a while ago had gone, had disappeared like the sun, and paleness came back. They looked at their hands and feet, their faces down. Faces down is a clear indication. When your head is down, meaning you are shameful, you're ashamed, you do not have guts to look into anybody else's eyes to justify what you've done. Margot is the cry they give out and nothing else, as they realize that their conduct as friends, as classmates, or as human beings has not been right. Regret strikes, and let us see what they do ahead.